In the year 1193, a fire was lit in the plains of eastern India. It burned for 3 whole months. It consumed 9 million books. It erased centuries of human medical, astronomical and philosophical genius. Long before Oxford, Cambridge or the Sorbonne were even conceived, there was Nalanda, the world's first truly global residential university. A place where 10,000 minds gathered to decode the cosmos. This is the story of its rise, its tragic murder, and its modern resurrection. Our journey begins in 427 Common Era. The Western Roman Empire is collapsing into chaos. But in India, the Gupta Empire is experiencing its golden age. Emperor Kumaragupta I looks at a stretch of mango groves outside Rajgiri and envisions a sanctuary for the mind. Nalanda was not built just as a school, it was built as a statement. The word itself comes from Nalam and Da, means insatiable givers of knowledge. The Guptas wanted to build an intellectual fortress that could survive empires. But getting inside this fortress of knowledge was a feat of endurance. Guarding these massive wooden gates were not soldiers, but the gatekeeper scholars. They gave oral examination to anyone wishing to enter. 8 out of 10 applicants were rejected at the door. Only the absolute brilliant survived. The architecture of Nalanda was an engineering marvel of ancient world. It was a completely self-contained ecosystem. The main avenue was lined with towering multi-story red brick buildings, engineered with sophisticated drainage system and fresh water wells for every single block. Each student received a private room, simple pattern, a stone bed, a niche of an oil lamp and bookshelves. No luxuries, because luxuries was a distraction from the ultimate truth. The buildings were engineered to build the scorching heat of the Bihar summers. The thick brick walls provide natural insulation. Rainwater harvesting channels fill massive surrounding lakes, keeping the campus cool and lush with greenery. A university of 10,000 people requires immense wealth to operate. It was entirely free for students. No tuition, no room fees, no food cost. How was this funded? Rulers like the Emperor Harsha and the Pala king donates the tax revenue of over 100 surrounding villages entirely to Nalanda. Daily carts of rice, milk, ghee and fuel arrived at the campus gates. The empire fed the body so Nalanda could feed the global mind. By the 7th century, Nalanda's fame crossed the oceans and the mountain ranges. It became a global magnet. A young Chinese monk named Zhuang denied his own emperor ban on travel. He embarked on a perilous 16,000-mile journey across Silk Road and frozen peaks. His destination, Nalanda. When Zhuang arrived, he was met by an escort of 200 monks. He wrote that the tower of Nalanda seems to pierce the clouds and that the morning mist hung beautifully around the painted pillars. Nalanda was not a monastery that taught only religion. It was a secular powerhouse. In one quoted students debated Buddhist texts and ancient Sanskrit literature. In another they solved complex algebraic formulas. Aryabhatta, the man who gave the world the concept of zero, is believed to have been an early chancellor here. Nalanda was the center of gravity for global intellectual. If you had not graduated from Nalanda, your philosophy simply was not taken seriously in East Asia. Here the Persian argued with Koreans. Tibetans translated Sanskrit medical texts into their native scripts. It was the world's first true melting pot of human reason. At the absolutely heart of Nalanda's global power was its library complex. It was known as Dharmaganj, the mountain of truth. It was composed of 3 massive multi-story places. One of them, the Ratnadadi, rose 9 stories high into the sky. It held 9 million manuscripts. Every single script was hand-copied by scribes on treated palm leaves, bound neatly with silk strings. This was the central achieve of human civilization. It contained original treatise on the universe, missing text of early Buddhism, advanced medical scripts, detailing complex plastic surgery and guides on agriculture, architecture, and trade crafts. Hundreds of foreign copyists spend their entire lifetimes inside these dark rooms, meticulously translating these texts into Tibetan, Chinese, and Mongolians, creating copies to take back to their native lands. Nalanda was attacked before several times. Both times the kings of the India rebuilt the university block by block. But by the late 12th century, a completely new type of warfare arrived on the subcontinent. Ikhtiar al-Din Muhammad Bakhtiar Khilji, a military commander of the Bhuri dynasty, was sweeping through northern India. His mission was territorial expansion and conquest. In 1193, Khilji's forces arrived at Nalanda. The university had no ramparts, no archers, and no standing army. It was populated entirely by unarmed monks and students. The historical chronicle Tabaq-e-Nasri brutally records the events. The greater number of the inhabitants of that place were Brahmins and Buddhists, and the whole of them were slain. Thousands of brightest minds on earth were slaughtered in a single afternoon. Then the soldiers marched into the Dharmagunj. They threw torches into the rooms holding 9 million books. Because the manuscripts were made of dried palm leaves and wooden covers, they fueled an unstoppable inferno. The smoke was so thick, it turned day into night for miles around. The intellectual heart of Asia was reduced to black ash. Nalanda was dead. For nearly 7th century, Nalanda slept under a massive blanket of soil, forgotten by the world, remembered only in the ancient Chinese scroll. In 1861, Sir Alexander Cunningham used Zhuang's detailed travel logs as a literal map, started digging into the earth of Bihar. What he uncovered shocked the world. The Nalanda was rediscovered. In 2016, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site. The stones of Nalanda are silent today, but its legacy is immortal. It stands as a timeless reminder that while empire crumble and libraries burn, story of Nalanda teach us a lesson. You cannot kill an idea by burning its books. In the 21st century, Nalanda rose again. So friends, this is the brief story of Nalanda. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, then let me in the comment section. See you in the next video. Jai Jagannath.